You know what? I think we should start off by first addressing the elephant in the room. So I started this channel a few months back with a little program I like to call Seeing What Sticks, in which I, your most humble host, would take an idea, throw it against the wall, and then you, my most esteemed viewers, would tell me in the comments if the idea stuck or not, if it could work in a story or some other form of storytelling setting. You see, there's a lot of AuthorTube and sort of like author-related content on YouTube that focuses a lot more on doing book reviews, on the writing process, the publishing process, a lot more on um, character development and themes. And I thought I had an idea for something that was a little more original so that I could stand out and get my name out there as an author. Now, what I haven't seen a whole lot of on YouTube from authors and writers and, creative writer types are the type of videos where you discuss more so the plot devices or what I like to call the gimmicks of a story that kind of make it stand out. Not necessarily the theme, but more so something that gives that story a unique signature or a unique edge. For example, I have right here this book that I read in high school, Piers Anthony's Castle Rugna. The basic gist of the story is that our main character, Dor, D-O-R, is a young man who is hitting puberty. Now, Dor has an older friend, Millie the Ghost, or I should be clear, Millie the former ghost, because after 800 years of being dead, Millie came back to life through magical means. That's how the story starts. But Millie has a friend, Jonathan the zombie. Now, Jonathan is not fully alive yet, not like Millie. And that's Dor's main quest, is to go back in time to discover a way to bring Jonathan back to full life and not just a rotting, putrid corpse. Now, the story has Dor, kind of like exploring his sexuality, he's hitting puberty, he explores what it means to be a man, he explores what it means to take responsibility, he gets into all these different fights, protecting his friends, making these hard moral decisions. That would be what you would consider the theme of the story, the sort of underlying message of this book. What I would call the gimmick is this little part of the story where every character is born with a particular power. For example, our character Dor, who is here in this cover, Dor can make inanimate objects talk, and he can ask inanimate objects questions to learn things. For example, he could ask a wall in any room in a house what happened in that room, and the wall will speak to him and tell him what has happened in the room. A great example of this is early in the story when Dor starts his adventure. He meets this gigantic spider, Jumper. Now, Jumper does not speak English, which can be a bit of a problem. So what Dor does is he takes a piece of spiderweb he finds on a tree, puts it down on his shoulder, and tells the spiderweb to translate what the spider is saying. So the spider doesn't speak English necessarily, but Dor can understand the spider because of his magic power and the use of the spider webbing on his shoulder. That is what I would consider to be the gimmick of this book. That would be more so the focus of Seeing What Sticks, as opposed to Dor, growing up, becoming a man, taking responsibility, and so on. Now, I feel like my big mistake in starting the channel with Seeing What Sticks is that I was trying to use ideas straight from my head, as opposed to pre-existing ideas that were already in books and movies and so on. Because I wanted to be original. I wanted to offer something that you couldn't find anywhere else. I mean, if I explained the concepts of a book just like I did with Castle Rugna, then what makes my content any different than a book review? And you can find book reviews just out the wazoo on YouTube and other such places. And I really tried to be original so I could stand out. So how about we do this? How about we just kind of reset, Just kind of forget the past, you and me, just start over. Can we do that together? Yeah, I think we should do that. Okay. How about we start right now? Ready? Hey y'all, my name is Jonathan Wall, and I'm writing a book. So as of the making of this video, I currently have 9 chapters written for my debut novel set in a utopian sci-fi fantasy world, The City of Purgatory. I'll get into more detail about the story, about the world and the characters and so on in a later video, but today I felt like I should probably explain how I got started writing in the first place. Just to kind of introduce myself as a writer as well as, where the work comes from. So imagine this. A young Jonathan turns 21 years old, and on his birthday, his family takes him to a screening of Stand By Me, a movie that was originally a book written by Stephen King. Now, I've seen Stand By Me before, but on this day, as I'm sitting there in the theater watching this movie, I get the idea in my head to become a writer myself. Because the whole thing felt incredibly meta. I mean, in the story, the main character is a young boy who writes, and he's actually a really talented writer. And he ends up becoming a writer who, as it turns out, is actually the narrator of the movie. But even more so than that, the movie is based off of the work of a writer. So I thought it would be a good idea to try it out for myself. I started writing what is actually the first 2 chapters, or the original first 2 chapters of my current novel, The City of Purgatory, because I had all these ideas in my head, and I thought, oh, I'm a creative person, I'm real imaginative, I can totally make this work. And I started putting it down, not on paper, I started typing it out. And I don't know, I feel like I kind of got a big head about it because I'm 21. I'm barely an adult. I'm still very immature. I still have unrealistic expectations about the world, about life, about working, about school, because I think I was taking some college classes at the time. And I just had it in my head that I was going to be the next big author. You know, I was going to be the guy who had that brilliant idea that just kind of takes off. My book was going to be in stores around the world. Everyone was going to know my name because my ideas were so unique and original. A lot like a lot of other amateur writers who I'm sure have given up because the writing process isn't as easy as they think it is. And that's something I had to learn the hard way. It took me a few months because I didn't take the work seriously at all. But I eventually wrote 2 chapters, and after I finished the second chapter, I kind of put the story down because I was more concerned with the image of being a writer as opposed to actually doing the work and having the writing, the writing in front of me. People don't realize that it takes years to write a book. It could take years just to get your manuscript, which is the manuscript of a book is just the words of the story. It has nothing at all to do with how much editing you had to do. Well, I take that back. You do have to edit your manuscript. It has nothing at all to do with the format of your book. It has nothing to do with the paperback printout of the book, the cover art, marketing, trying to sell it in the stores. All of that other stuff has to be taken into account. The manuscript is just the words of the book. And even that can take years. So here I am, thinking I'm going to be the next big shot in the literary world. Not because I love reading, which I enjoy reading. Not because I'm trying to look up to someone else, because, I did take after Stephen King, I guess. But he's not like a big hero of mine. I haven't really read a whole lot of his work. It was just I had this idea in my head that, like, oh, all I have to do is put words on paper and I can become famous. Yeah. So after writing only 2 chapters, which I guess that was probably 20 pages, they're two pretty long chapters. I put it down, and I didn't touch this book for about 5 years. Okay, I left. I just left it alone, and I kind of lived my life, and I did a whole bunch of adult stuff. Got new jobs, moved to new places, tried making new friends, and I just grew up, as it were. And I didn't really pursue anything creative for a long while until COVID happened. COVID happens. I had to move out of my apartment because I had issues with my roommate. I left the job I had at the time because COVID made working in that location far more difficult. People were leaving. Nobody new was coming in. I was actually promoted to a position that I could not handle. Um, and I decided to take a risk and quit that job. I quit my job in the middle of a pandemic. That's quality life advice right there. I recommend that you don't do that. But I took the gamble. I moved in with my parents for a little bit, and by just the greatest amount of luck any man could ever possibly achieve, I got this really good job with a lot of really good coworkers who I am now very close friends with. And they're all very artistic types, they're very creative people, and they encouraged me to get back into writing. So as of January of 2021, I picked up the story and I just started writing again. And I hit it hard, hit the ground running, wrote every single day or as many days a week as I could, at least an hour a day. I try my best to keep it up. And I've just been writing and writing and writing. And I am now at 9 chapters. 9 out of what I expect to be about 12 or 13 chapters in my manuscript. So right now the book is going great, and I haven't really done any editing because you have to get the story written first. But that's just where I'm at. I've got the majority of my draft written, and I'm super excited to tell y'all more in the future. Okay.